people. We're also trying to record it live via an iPad as well. And what we're going to be talking about is this is Sage Days 35.5. Let me bring that up on the wiki. Sage Days 35.5. This is a bug days. We have a bunch of different stuff going on. In particular, let's take a look at the schedule down here. And what you can see is that we have this thing for some relative beginners. Some people have done some stuff in Sage, some who haven't. A review of mercurial and making patches in Sage. And that's basically what we want to talk about at this time, is we want to try and test whether we can get people who haven't done those things to be able to do those things so that by the afternoon they are at least able to review a patch, if not do even more than that. So we're going to get started with that. And I apologize to the people who are actually here live, who you can't see, because I'm not going to be able to look at them as much, since Jason says I'm supposed to move the mouse around a lot and stuff like that. So I have to look at the screen, which is annoying. Everybody laugh. Okay, so, all right, that's to you if you're not here. So what we're going to do is start off talking about this. And I want to take a look at this walking through the development process page. And those who are live should take a look at this. You go to sagemath.org and /doc/developer. This is also findable if you just go to the SageMath website and then click through a little bit. If you click on that, you'll actually get to this whole developer guide. It's a pretty comprehensive developer guide. It's in fact too comprehensive because it covers everything. And there's all kinds of things about conventions and coding in Python 4 Sage, Python, which unfortunately I probably won't talk about today too much. The manuals, making Sage packages. We're not going to talk about those things. What we're going to take a look at is this first one here, walking through the development process. In particular, we're going to look at the following bullet points, more or less. Modifying Sage source code. I'll talk about creating a sandbox, although I won't actually do it live because it does take a little while to happen. We're going to first talk about just how you apply and review a patch someone else has already made. Just to see, does it work on the latest version of Sage? Is it something that's going to work? Then we'll talk a little bit about creating your own change and submitting a change. We probably won't talk about updating a change. Then there's some other stuff about queues that I sort of understand now enough that I use it, but I don't understand well enough to teach it to anybody, and that's okay. You don't have to. So before we get to that, I'm probably going to talk you through something that's sort of like this first stuff. Let me go to the main track page. So track.sagemath.org, you can see it up at the top there, is the place where all Sage development happens in some sense. It's a server that has a bunch of, it's a database, and you can just make a whole bunch of new tickets for things that are wrong. You can look at old ones. You can attach files. So I've attached graphics files to show when graphics look bad or good. You can attach, obviously, code. You can attach all kinds of things. There's a megabyte size. But other than that. So you go here, and you see here's this development web page. Again, in this I'm not going to tell you how to get a new account and log in, but you can see the instructions are here. I think everybody present today has done this now, correct? So everybody has it. This will help you do things. It is also the way you would update the wiki if you're using the wiki. I won't talk about that in this screencast, however. So what we're going to do is use this track, and I'm just going to kind of show you, here's some stuff that we might look at, for instance. So here's symbolics. I've grouped together a bunch of things about symbolics, and some people are going to be working on symbolic stuff. So for instance, one of the people here is working on integration, so here's some bugs that are solved upstream. So here we have a bad sign in integral, and somebody who's written a patch said this should be a positive number since the map is positive. And then I commented about a year ago, this is probably a bug in Maxima. We reported it in Maxima, and it turned out that this is fixed in Maxima 5.24, and now we just need to upgrade Maxima. So this ticket will end up being closed once we upgrade Maxima to 5.24 or something bigger. And then I'm going to click on the patch, and you'll notice when I click on it, it's actually going to bring you to code, but it's not one that you can just use. It's like formatted nicely. So here you can see that what a patch looks like on track is it tells you the file that it's changing, gives you the username and such, and then take a look at this. Here's the code that's not been changed, and then here they got rid of the 3 quotation marks ending the documentation, And then what they did is they got rid of the red line, they added these green lines. The test number 10923, track 10923, about this integration issue, test that it's fixed, and you can see that all they did, the person who wrote this, they just wrote Sage : anybody who's used Sage command line knows what that's what it looks like, and then they just typed in the command that should work, and it works. There you go. So at least if you're an expert in such things. I don't remember my integrals of exponentials of squares, so but maybe Karen can help us with that. Is that correct? Okay. All right. So the gamma function is what we expect. The incomplete gamma function, I guess. So the point is, it looks like that, but that's not what we're going to use for Sage. So down here, there's this original format link. Do you see that? I'm talking to the live people. Does everybody see that? That's the place we're actually going to use in order to try and get stuff. Okay, this link here, and when I click on that, I'm not sure, it's probably just going to download it for me. But if you can somehow open it in your browser, let's see, I'm going to open link in a new tab, but it's probably still going to try to download it. Yeah, it did. So when I go down here to my downloads and click on that, there we go. You can see that it just opened in text. And it's exactly the same thing, except it's not formatted nicely. But this is the actual raw text file that has this stuff in it. And you can see that the pluses over here are the stuff that was in green below us. You can still see it down there. And the thing that has a minus sign in front of it, that's the stuff that's gone. And look here, there's the stuff that was minus. Don't ask me why it said that the quotation marks were minus and plus when it looks like they're... I don't know.
It's the way that the diff algorithm works.
That's it. Okay, so the way in which it checks whether something is
yeah,
diff. Yeah.
If it'll start scanning from the bottom, basically from the top down, is my understanding.
And so it's just when there's a difference. Okay.
Yeah, you can get like really funky looking diff sets.
Yes, I have seen
because
those.
of that.
So, but luckily this is not a funky looking diff. It's very obvious what's going on in this version and in this version. Once you know what the minuses and pluses mean, it's pretty obvious what's going on there too. Right? Any questions about just what a change in Sage looks like from that standpoint? And the thing is, you don't really have to know much about this. Okay? You just have to be able to recognize it so that when you look at your own patches, you see if there's anything added that doesn't look like it's part of what you were working on. Because once in a while that'll happen. You'll make a change and then you'll forget you made it, and then you'll start making other changes, and then you try to submit it, and then you have these other random changes in graphics, and you're really trying to make a change in L functions. So that would be a bad thing. Okay, so that's the file. Okay, now I'll go back to the track. Oops. And what we're going to do is walk through, and I guess I'll just use this one because it's not in Sage, well hopefully it will still apply, to walk you through how to actually check it works. So what you need in order to do this is actually not even a track account. But what you do need is a functioning Sage installation. So I'm going to hope I have one of those. And you also need a functioning developer tools of some kind. So you need GCC, Fortran, and a couple other things. Xcode on Apple provides all that, and then on Linux you need to have a few. But it's not a lot of stuff. They're very standard things. And they're all documented very well on the Sage install from source guide. And now we're going to find out where that lives. Here it is. Okay. So sagemath.org/doc/installation. So if you go to the installation guide, again, this is all directly available from the Sage website. And it's this install from source code, steps to install from source. The key thing is you just want to make sure that you have the stuff that it asks you to have, these things. So if you don't, again, you'll have all those things if you have Xcode. If you don't, you just need those things. You actually don't need LaTeX, and you don't need ImageMagick. That helps you make animations and things like that. Okay? Okay, so but we don't need the install guide because we're assuming you've already installed Sage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open a terminal window. For doing Sage development at this point, you do need a command line environment. There are some programs that allow you to create patches in a web browser environment. There's some really cool stuff. We haven't integrated with those yet, but apparently GitHub has some functionality along those lines. But what we're going to do is, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open Sage. Now, when I'm going to do it, I do have a link for it, but I'm going to assume you've downloaded it somewhere. Let's say you've downloaded it to your downloads. Makes sense? And let's say you've downloaded a development release. So in order to really do development, you want to have the latest official alpha. And so you see I'm typing tab, and now it's saying I have 4.7.2 and 4.8.05. So I'm going to type 8 and then tab over. So that's where I want to go. Okay? And so I should probably actually CD to that. I should change directories. That's what CD, for those who are not as big into Unix stuff, is change directories. And now I'm in the Sage thing. You can see here, I probably shouldn't have all this with my laptop because now everybody knows my name is in a spam email. But I guess it's too late now. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to just list that. You can see there's a whole bunch of stuff in this directory. I can also open it in the browser in Apple. And you can see there's various directories. And you don't care about any of them except this one. The devel directory is where all the code lives. And it's the only one you have to worry about when you're making changes. Even though Sage itself, when it builds itself, is going to make other changes in other directories, you don't have to worry about that. All you do is go to devel. And most of you will not just be in devel, will be in Sage. You can see the little arrows mean that they're symbolic links. But don't worry about that. If you're working on the Sage notebook, you could use this. We're going to assume that you're not working on this now because it's moving to a different system. This will still be part of the Sage setup, but the correct way to work on the notebook will be something else. So I'm just going to focus on Sage. And then you can see that there's more stuff in here, and this is the directory you want. So there's 3 directories deep I have to go to get to the source code. And now you can see calculus, categories, functions, finance, and a whole bunch of other stuff. So if I do it in the command line, of course I need to go in the command line. So I do cd devel /sage/sage. And let me move this just a little bit so you can actually see the whole command. Okay? Devel/sage/sage. So I'm changing directories first into wherever my Sage lives, which is going to be different on everybody's computer. And now I'm going to cd into that specific directory. And now I'm going to list that, and you can see that there's all kinds of different kinds of mathematics in there. And any kind of math that you like, it's probably in there. Even if you like abelian sand piles, there. So there you go. Now, that's if you want to start moving stuff around. But I don't really want to do that yet. I'm going to actually try and first get a patch in. So now let's go back to the development process. Modifying Sage source code. So that's where the Sage source code lives. Okay? What we're going to do is we're going to change the source code, and I'm going to show you how to do that in a second. Then we're going to do this Sage B. And don't worry about the / yet. It will depend on where you're living at the current time. And B means for build. So the -B or -B or -B is for Sage, build yourself. Make the change that I made in the source code into the actual Sage. And there's various ways to do that. I'll get to the sandbox in a little bit, although we're not going to do it as I said. And instead I'm going to go straight to this reviewing a patch thing. So you see how they have this whole thing, an essential part of improving Sage is reviewing patches. So they've already told you here stuff I showed you, right? The red shading is deletions, green shading is additions. There's a patch file, there's a little download icon. So let's go back and see that one more time. And I need to get rid of that downloads thing. So you see this little icon here. That's the other way that you can download it. I can either go to my attachment and then download in original format, or I can go over here and click this link. So what I'm going to do, because it's actually easier in the long run, is teach you how to do it directly from the internet. So all of you on your computers should have some kind of thing where you can get a link from a link, like the actual. So on Mac it's Control-click. And I have a whole bunch of things I can do. What I want to do is I want to copy the link. I don't know what it is on your computers, but every computer should have a right-click menu or something like that where you can copy a link. So I'm going to copy the link. And I'm going to go back to my terminal. So I just showed you where this stuff was, and that was really naughty of me because, of course, now you're going to think that we have to be really clever ninjas of the tree of folders, but you don't. So I'm going to actually go back to this folder, the original one where we just went into the Sage folder. Okay? So don't ignore ignore the man behind And now I'm back in that folder. You can list again, you can see it's got a bunch of random things. And what it has is this sage. What I'm going to do is to start this, I'm going to do /sage. What that means, and I need to tell you this because I had no idea the first time I saw it, because I have no computer science background, formally at least. Dot means where you are. Slash means the next folder, and I want sage. What sage is in the folder is actually a command. So I type /sage, sage starts. This is a pre-release version and maybe unstable. Pre-release versions of Sage are not really particularly unstable, which is good. It's going to take a second to start up because it's a cold cache. Now I have Sage, so I can do +2 and all the other good stuff. Anybody have a curve they want to F55 or something? I don't know if that's a real elliptic curve. We'll find out. It's not. So anyway, you can do all kinds of crazy stuff. Plot squared from 0 to 10. That's not going to look very good, but nonetheless, I can plot it. Oh. So, but that's not what we're here for today. What we're here for is developing Sage. So the key for all development of Sage is this wonderful tool called Mercurial. If I go to the thing here, you can see that typing Mercurial into your favorite search engine gives you a link to mercurial.selenic.com. And they call it HG because Mercury is HG, right? What is that? It's like hydro something, like the Latin, I can't remember anymore. But what Mercurial does is it keeps track of all the changes that have happened in little hidden files. We don't even have to know where they are. But it keeps track of all the changes that have happened in Sage from the first time they started using Mercurial, which now is probably 4 or 5 years ago, because it's been on Sage ever since I started using it. And it just keeps track of it. So you can keep a lot of good track of things and see what other people did. And in particular, it means that Sage automatically has inside of it, this is something William set up a long time ago to make it easy, Mercurial. If I type HG and then tab, we all know that tab is how you get lots of commands in Sage, right? HG tab, you can see that there's 5 different things. You can use Mercurial on an Xcode directory that you don't need to know about. The root directory, which is where some of the main Sage stuff happens at the technical level. Sage, which is just the usual math library. Sage NB, which is the notebook stuff, and scripts, which are some additional scripts that do checking for various things. But of course, we don't care about the notebook today. We don't care about scripts. What we care about is Sage. So I'm going to HG tab, so I can understand that's Sage. And then I'm going to type, I'll just type that. And it says HG repository. It tells you exactly where it's located. So HG Sage is saying, this is Mercurial. This is revision control. It's telling me everything that's ever changed in the source code about the Sage library. Okay? So the reason why this is good is because I am in a Sage session using it. I don't have to go and make a link to some other Mercurial thing. I don't have to know anything about it. I just have to know how to use these specific commands. So let's go back to walk through the development process. So we already ran Sage. Now we have to apply the patch. And look at that. Here's an explicit command. And unsurprisingly, because it's Python, so everything's object-oriented, it's hgsage.apply. Let me go back and do hg_sage.a. I'm going to tab. So I can do add or apply. I want to apply. hgsage.apply. Now, I'm going to go and put in that source file. And remember how when I was over there, I decided to get the link from here and not from here? See, this sends me to an HTML file that looks pretty. But of course, HTML isn't really what Sage wants to have, is it? It wants Python. So I click this little guy, or I download from the original format. I can click that link, and I copy the link. We already did that. And now the developer guide says, put the full path and file name of the patch inside of quotes. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to put a parenthesis in. I'm going to put a quote because Python likes strings. And then I'm just going to do Command V, which on Macs cuts and pastes. But I just have to paste it in. Because I don't want to write it all down, right? Whoa. I must have copied something before. Book, no problem. Copy link. So I must have cut and pasted something else. Okay, sage.apply. I should be able to just, maybe I'll go here, paste. There we go. So you see, I didn't have to do anything. And notice how it says raw attachment. If you don't see that in the URL, then you have the wrong link. Quote, parenthesis. Let's hope it applies. I don't actually know if it's going to. So it's remote loading remotely. 1 out of 1 times failed, saving rejects. Okay, so it didn't work. Oh well. Now I can go to the ticket and say this does not apply on Sage 4.8.alpha 5. We just tried it at Sage Days 5.5. Okay, so that's too bad. Probably it's not going to be hard to get it to apply, but we worked on it, right? So keyword, come on, SD 35.5. Submit changes. So we just did some Sage development. That really counts. I know it seems stupid, right? How could that count? But it does. Because how is the author going to know that? Right? They have to have a way to figure that out. It's a little unfortunate for us right now because, of course, now the people watching the screencast are going to have to hang out a little bit longer until I find something that does apply. But whatever. We just did something and it helped Sage get better. Because somebody's going to be able to rebase it. We won't talk about how to do that today. All right, well, how about this? I'm kind of surprised it didn't apply. Integration involving apps. Okay, so that person did not attach a patch. So we can't do anything with that. How about 11.164? Okay, here you know. Integral of sin x over x gives false result. You can see there's some discussion of what the right answer should be. And then it turns out that there's various things that we can do to fix that. And it should be working eventually. But we're just going to try and figure out if it works. Add doctext to confirm fix. So let me get rid of these other ones, which is kind of annoying. So here again, now, this one only added. So this one didn't erase anything for whatever reason. Okay? So another one looks nice. I'm going to go and copy the link. Now, since HG Sage just tried to add something, I'm going to do something that, although you don't have to technically always do it, I'm just going to try. I'm going to do HG_Sage dot status. We go back to walking through the developer process, you'll see it doesn't necessarily say anything about that right away. But I'm just going to do that. Remember, it's Python, so I put parentheses. And you can see there's no changes, okay? So there's nothing listed here. I'm okay. If the thing didn't apply, so no changes were made. So now I'm going to try hgsage.apply parenthesis quote parenthesis. Let's hope this one applies. Okay. No?
Oh, if they're both trying to patch the same file and the files change, that's probably what's causing it.
No, obviously, yeah, and obviously that file has changed. So, but it's kind of annoying because I was hoping to use that because I knew there were people here who cared about those things, and I knew that there were patches attached to some of those. So now, now I think we need to go and view tickets and look for things that need review. So you click on View Tickets, and here you go, Tickets Needing Review by Component. I hope nobody's getting too bored watching this online. Let's see if we can find something that needs some help. Here's something that probably will still apply. This is a very long thing, but it's okay. So there's this thing called Riemann plots, which is really cool actually. This undergrad at Calvin College did. And needs, here, let's go to this ticket. I think this is, there we go. More modular complex plot. I don't think anybody's messed with complex plots. And this, as you can see, is there's been several attachments made, so people will often attach several versions as they make improvements, and that's okay. You can replace a previous version, but we don't have to talk about that now. You can just keep on adding. Okay, so that's the thing. Come on. It didn't apply, so here's this other one. You can see it's much longer. There's some stuff that changes non-trivially, and it gets rid of some stuff and so forth. And so I'm going to go and copy this link. If it doesn't work this time, then I don't know what I'm going to do. Come on. It's a little bigger patch. There we go, it applied. See? And nothing happened, and that means it went well. All right. Whew. That was a lot more work than I wanted.
So,
Yes,
when
question?
you say something applies, you mean you just applied it to your version of Sage in your computer?
That is correct, yes.
Okay.
So the question was, when I say something applied, does that mean I applied it to my version? Yes, I applied it to my specific installation that you see on this thing, and I just applied it, and that's it, and now it's in there. So in particular, if I open another window here, and I see so you don't have to follow all this, but just, if I go into the place where this lives, which is what? Find out the ticket. It lives in the file. Calculus/remon.pix. So if I do that, now let's look where the first change is. It's line 43. He adds from sage.plot.complexplot import complex plot. So let's see if that's there. Yes. Okay, so it's there. Now, Sage still doesn't know it's there. Okay? And this is the other important part, is that, oops, don't change things that you shouldn't. That's another important. The other important thing is, now I have Sage, and for purposes, I'll follow through the guide. I'm going to quit Sage. There's a few ways you can quit Sage, and exit is a good way of it. Rebuild Sage. This is the key. And the reason why I'm glad we took a .pyx file is because there's something non-trivial that Sage has to do. It doesn't just have to take the Python code and just move it to wherever it's actually looking for it. This .pyx file, or what are called Cython files. They're .pyx because it's short for Pyrex, which is what the Cython was developed from. And they have to compile, and there's something that really happens. So I do /sage again, now -b. What it's going to do is it's going to look for anything that's changed, and then it's going to start messing with it. So this is not a Python file. If it was a Python file, it's just moving. But since this is a PIX file, it's actually going to turn the PIX into C code. And I don't know if you're all familiar with C code. C is this really fast stuff. It's kind of annoying, but it's very portable, which was developed by Dennis Thompson and Ken Ritchie. And actually, I think Ritchie just died, right?
Yeah.
So you can see it's going to do all its stuff, installs up to date, updating Cython code. So it's going to build two. So there's two things. Now look, two commands. Python which Cython. So it's going to be, it's turning the Cython code into, it's turning the Cython code into C. Now it's going to copy a whole bunch of Python files to where they belong. And now it's currently compiling the C code. So it's doing one of them right now, and then it's going to do the other one in a second. Okay? So it's compiling, I guess it's compiling a few of them. Then it byte compiled, which I don't really understand. It's another Python thingy that it does. And now it's done. It took a half a minute. Okay? Not bad. Now, if I start Sage again, this thing should be in it. So they say to actually test out a patch, do the following. So this is the part that I can't really give you a tutorial on. The first thing we do, that thing that we said where this doesn't apply, that actually was Sage development. Okay? When I did that right now, I should have left it for one of you, but we had to do something. It really was Sage development. But now there's all kinds of other things we can do. Now that it's been applied, I can experiment with what's going on with it. If you're reviewing something where there's new functionality, such as Euler product L series, right? You definitely want to experiment with it a lot. Try weird cases. Try when all the things are 0, okay? Or when or if there's things that what if you can't put a negative number into it, then try and see if that raises an error. Okay, stuff like that. Running tests is a good idea. You can even test the entire library. That's what you do when you're really sure it's ready, and that's what you also only do if you're pretty sure that it might affect another file. but somewhere else somebody might use that functionality. On the other hand, if it's like those ones that we looked at earlier, where the only change, let's see if I can find them. If I go into the history, we can take a look at this guy, right, where the integral gave the wrong result. And all that patch was is verifying that it works. So for this case, all you have to do to test it out is verify this works. Maybe try another similar example, like 2 times sine of x over x, or something like that. And then just run the test on that file. It's not changing the code, right? It's just changing the documentation. So you don't really need to do the testing the entire Sage library, which will take a couple hours or something, in order to do that. Excuse me. So, but this one you can see there is some stuff that's changed. One is just they changed how they wrote some of this stuff. But it looks like they changed a little. So it's worth checking whether these complex plots really work, isn't it? So let's go see if these complex plots really work. So what I'm going to do is start Sage again, /Sage. Again, the reason we're doing /Sage is because we're in the development library. We're kind of living inside of it, so we want to know what's going on. Pre-release version. Now it's warmed up, so it shouldn't take as long to come up. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy this code straight up. I'm just going to cut and paste it. Okay? Just because I'm not actually testing the whole thing, I'm just showing you guys how to do it. So I'm making e to the it. That should make a circle, shouldn't it? And I'm going to take the derivative of it, except it's explicitly written out. And what happens when you take e to the it and I e to the it? Well, that's on the interval from 0 to 2 pi, that's a unit circle, and its derivative. So what a Riemann map is going to do is going to show you, oh, right, I have to show it. All right, so now I have to figure out what I need to do. There you go, plot spider web. There we go. So there's the picture of that map, which of course isn't very interesting because it's just mapping the unit circle to a unit circle. So, but it's kind of cool nonetheless. And there it is. That's kind of fun. So now I tested it, at least it's not completely broken, right? Maybe it really is broken, but I did something to help review it. And that's what you're supposed to do to actually test out a patch, right? All these list of things, run tests on the affected files, experiment, test the library, okay. So that's what you want to do. Now here's a couple of things we definitely want to talk about. First, running tests, and then ensuring that the documentation builds. And that's important for these kinds of things. You don't have full doc test coverage is not as important for most of you, except for the 2 of you, but you guys, and the whole point of your stuff is to do it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to exit Sage. And I'm going to do 2 things. So we're going to /Sage, because I'm in that directory where Sage lives, I just do /Sage, it's going to tell me. I'm going to do -t, or -t. But of course I don't want to test everything, so I'm going to give it a specific file. And what I'm going to do to figure out what that file is I'm going to go back up here and figure out what the file is. Oh, it's sage/calculus/riemann.pix. Now I think that what I'm about to do isn't going to work, but I'm just going to try it just in case it works. I don't think this is going to work. I think it's going to say where are you? Yeah, file not found. So you do is /sage -t devel/sage/ and then the file. Because we're not currently living in the directory where all the code actually is. We're a couple directories above. So in order to make that happen, we need to do that. This, I believe, is on, yeah, see, the command is devel/sage, sage test. Whatever the file is. So sage test, they're assuming you've made a different directory. But I'm being lazy and not making another. And so the point is you need the whole path to that name. So he's devel/sage/ and then wherever the thing lives. Which in this case was sage/calculus/riemann.pix. Okay? So I go back here and I'm going to do it. This will take a little bit because there's actually a lot of, it uses a lot of C code. As you can imagine, making some of these Riemann things, if you remember from grad complex analysis or something, there's a lot of work in trying to make it do. So I'll talk through it while I was doing it. Some of the other things that are useful to do on track are adding comments about the patches themselves. Some stuff failed too, that's useful to know. It's useful to kind of typos It's useful to point out things that are mathematically wrong. That's really, really useful. It's also useful to talk about style. If you were a reader who had never seen this before, could you understand it? Could you follow the code? And could you follow documentation? Even if the documentation is complete, that doesn't mean it's intelligible, right? There's lots of papers we've all read, I'm sure, that fall into that category. So there's lots of things you can do to fix it. Now this is interesting because we got some failures. Let's go back and look at the failures we got. Name complex to RGB is not defined. It looks like everything here, the problem is the complex to RGB. So I'm going to just, this is more than you really have to do. So where is complex, calculus certainly not an important calculus. So pretty much there's this thing complex to RGB that supposedly exists, and we're not finding it. So let's go back to here and see if this depends on anything. Yeah, I'm really confused. I don't know why there's no complex to RGB, so I'm not going to waste your time with it now because that would be actual development work, and I'm not going to do that. But the point is it applied, and we discovered that nonetheless some of the doc tests failed. So something was wrong here, and I don't know what it is, and I'm not going to take time to do it right now. But that's how you start developing your stage. Now, here's the other thing that they were talking about when it came to walking through the development process. If you scroll back up to the part where it talks about creating a sandbox, what you can do to avoid messing up your installation of Sage, you don't have to do this, but you can do this to avoid messing it up, is when you're in the Sage directory, you can issue the command /sage and then -clone. And you have to give it a name, like, say SD35.5. Okay. What that will do is create a whole new piece of Sage. Welcome.
Hello.
It'll create a whole new piece of Sage. Kenny can come too if you want.
Oh yeah, he's in his room.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, since I thought he was going to be here.
Yeah. He'll be here.
You can create a whole new copy of Sage that you can just mess around with. And then you don't have to like mess up your original copy. So then if you screw something up really bad, you just go and switch back to the other one and use that. It's pretty well explained under this whole creating a sandbox. I think that that's kind of a little more advanced, so I'm actually not going to do it. Okay? I think that right now we just want to know how do you do one change? How do you do one thing? But it's pretty easy. You can switch back and forth between the versions, so it's not that bad. All right, so I'm not going to do that for you. But what I am going to do is point out we have this little problem, right, about the tests. So let's see if there's other problems. Let's see if there's a problem with documentation. Look, because the documentation is written in an interesting little language called restructured text. And so it comes out looking pretty nice, but if you make a syntax error, it comes out looking pretty not so nice. So let's just try that too, because we're learning everything from scratch and we have all the time until lunch. So I'm going to do the same again, /sage, but now mine is doc build. And usually for your purposes, it's going to be the reference that you're going to want to build. So I'm going to type reference. And then what you want to be a PDF, HTML, something like that. It's easiest to check in HTML. So I have the reference being built in HTML. And now you can see it's going to take a little bit because it's going to be building all the new documentation that I've changed. So it's going to search through and look if I've made any changes, which I hope that it finds, because I did make some changes with that patch that I tried to test. There we go. And you can see it's going to, so now it's looking for the things that have changed, and it's found those, and now it's going to start changing them. You can see it's not going to take too long, so we didn't change very much stuff. And the reason you want to do that is because, again, this documentation is seen by people all over the place on the web or through their notebook browsers, and it's not just a command line. Sage is not just about expediency. We want this to be a true, viable competitor to all those other guys, and so we got to have at least semi-decent documentation. So I'm opening the place where this stuff lives, and I'm going to finding Riemann mapping, and then I can look at the stuff, and here you can see now that it hasn't even been changed. And I can also see that this thing is not formatted correctly. You see how this one looks? You see what that one looks like? Not the same, right? So somewhere in the patch there was a problem with it. And I honestly did not cherry pick this. Ethan is a very, very good coder. So it's really not his fault. I must have missed something. Let's see. Is this even a comment that I might have made here? Yeah, anyway, so but when I'm going to put a comment at Sage at SD 35.5. We found out that tests don't pass for some reason in the complex to RGB. By the way, I put these little tick marks here. You don't have to do that, but I did that sort of look like code when it comes out. There's all kinds of little formatting things in the wiki that you don't really need to know now, but you'll just learn as you pick it up. That's why you're here on site, so that people like Jason Grau can say, oh, just do this. And actually, I'm going to use some more wiki markup. 3 quotes is it bold, and the very first example format's weird now. Maybe that's my fault when I rebase this. Question mark? Submit changes. Leave as needs review. Oh, it really needs work, but I'm leave as needs review. You can see this part looks like kind of nice computer text, and this one got bold. Okay. Again, it's not really that important. But now, there's one more thing I need to do. Whether I'm in a clone or not, I don't really want to keep this now because it wasn't good. Plus, if I wanted to build something else on it, I need to make sense. So I'm going to go back into .sage and show you the things that I think might not be in the developer guide process. We'll find out in a second. Nope, I don't see them. So here's something else I think that you should know how to do. So I'm going to do HG Sage again, dot. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do dot revert. I want to get rid of these changes so they're not just stuck in my Sage tree. I mean, who wants to have it all out? And in order to make it really easy to revert, you need to put in this extra thing, where options equals all. You might want to write this down, and if somebody is very enterprising, they might want to make a ticket where they ask me to document this. And I put it in this developer handbook that we're looking at right now. Because I've never done that, and I had to figure it out by myself. It's really annoying. They really want you to use Mercurial straight up, and then it's easier to deal with. But I think it should be really possible to do it from within Sage, because that makes it easier for first timers. Now when I do this, you see it's going to look, and it's apparently reverted some stuff. And now when I go to, oh no, sorry, I need to do rollback first. Okay. So first I'm going to roll back. What rollback does is the one thing that I just did. What did I just do? You guys remember? I imported that patch about Riemann plots, right? I need to roll it back. There we go. So it undid the commit. Now what I'm going to do is do the reverse, where nothing happened because there was nothing to revert. Because now the changes are still there. I just told Mercurial, oh, forget that I actually said it was good. You know, the changes are still there. Now I need to actually change the things. And now you can see it reverted those 2 files. Okay? Exit. /sage -b. And now it's going to go through the whole process and recompile so everything looks, it's just exactly the way it was before. Okay? Now once this is done, everything will be the way it was. So look at that, guys. We reviewed, applied, unapplied patch. What do you guys think? Did we learn something? Do you have questions about that process? That is, to me, the hardest part of Sage development, is this process right here. Okay, and now it's done. So it just, compile. Now, if you want, we can keep on going, but at least people watching online might want to take a break. So, should we talk about creating a change and submitting a change? I think you guys will definitely want to hear about this, and we might as well. And then what we'll do is we'll take a little more time on this, and then we'll lunch. Okay. So, eventually you're going to want to actually change something, okay? So here's how you change something. There are some precursor, whatever. The point is, you edit a source file. So there's lots of ways to edit a source file. It depends on what your favorite way of looking at code is. But the way we're going to do it is like this. I'm going to go back into my thing. Now I'm going to be sneaky. And remember how at the very beginning of the talk, I changed directories not just into my Sage installation, but I actually went kind of deep into it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to cd first into Sage. Then I'm going to go to devel/sage. And I guess I'm going to do it wherever I want. What should I try and make an error in? What should I break? What do you think? Anybody?
The notebook.
No, yeah, and that'd be nice, but no, let's just do like some math.
What is it? The Sudoku.
I don't know how the Sudoku solver works. I guess it'd be easy to break then, wouldn't it? All right, let's do that. Sudoku. Wait, where is this? Oh, I think it's games, right? Sudoku.py. Okay, so I'm going to go into the games directory, and I'm going to. So again, you guys might use different ways of doing it, especially if you have a Mac. I like Xcode and Text Wrangler for opening these files. However you want to open the file. For instance, I could open this dot. And so there's a bunch of things here. There's those quantominos and sudoku.py. So I can open it by double clicking. And I have it set up. Oh yeah, don't double click it unless you have it set up to open an Xcode. Otherwise, double clicking it will make a compiled bytecode Python file. That's no fun to anybody. So I can do this. Maybe I'll just do it this way. So here's Sudoku puzzles. Solve Sudoku puzzles described by matrix C. Blah, blah, blah. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make an interesting error. Okay? Look at that. I got rid of the last line of Sudoku. So there's no way this can be correct because this is no longer a 9 by 9. I'm going to save it. See, this is going to click. I'm going to save it. Save it. If I go back to my Sage, so I'm just going to start Sage again. HG Sage is wonderful because it gives you tab completion to all the stuff you need. So I'm going to do HG Sage status. Oh, and Sage /Sudoku. So that's modify. If I add a file, it starts A, and then there's various other symbols for other ones.
What's
Yeah.
HG Sage?
Yeah, you were gone during that part. So look at the earlier part of this thing when you watch it online. So what's going on here is I've done it, and I can also see the whole div. So if I HG Sage, if I do .d, if I do .diff, this is going to create. Remember that file we looked at before in this text edit? It had the pluses for stuff I added and minuses for stuff I subtracted. So if I do this .diff, it's going to show it to me. In this case, all I did was subtracted one line, right? I didn't change anything else. So I can see what I've changed immediately inside of Sage, which is convenient because it's inside of Sage. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit Sage, and I'm going to do again the testing. And you remember the syntax for testing? Sage minus, or hyphen, what? T, right? But now I don't want to test that, right? I want to test the games. Sudoku. So let's see what happens, and hopefully it'll give me an error. There you go. So this one failed, right? Expected the last line to be 635, whatever, and instead it got 49, whatever. Right. So sorry, yeah, because I got rid of the last line. Right? Interestingly, that will work even if I don't do Sage minus B. However, if I make a change in the code, that's what I'm going to do next. See if there's a place where I can change the code. So it just bombs.
Delete it all.
No, I'll just delete like one thing. Yeah, let many of you heard of puzzle set?